Al, it's time for us to talk about one of the. I guess this is one of the biggest games of the year so far. One of the most widely regarded, critically acclaimed. That's the phrase I was
That's
looking
the word
for.
we're looking for.
Games of the year that you will never play because this is obviously not a game for you. But I played it, and I'm gonna tell you about it.
I I watched the baby play some of it.
Yes,
That was fun, but
you
I
got to
won't play it
you got to
now.
see my messed up character creation, and that's all you need to know.
Honestly, like any game that has character creation, I want to see what monstrosity you come up with. And you deliver it on this one.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. Hey, these games are very good in that aspect to let you do this. So
Nice.
that is something that is very nice about this. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Seasonal Anime Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc, Allie, and Lady
Hello, hello.
This is episode number 307, and we're going to talk about the Elden Ring.
Sure is a Elden Ring.
It sure is. It's
Yep.
the Elden Ring of video games. It's not quite the Dark Souls of video games.
Oh, darn.
Exactly. This game came out earlier this year on February 25th, 2022 for the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and the personal computers. And it is the latest game from the people who have made the Dark Souls games, the Bloodborne, the Sekiro, all of those, masochistic action-adventure games that people either really like or really hate. There's no real in-between there.
Correct. Or they're just like me and they're like, I'm indifferent to that because I don't want to play it
Yeah,
because I know the difficulties there.
that is very true. Uh, this is obviously it's a different take on those kinds of games because this is the first true open world version of one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, before it was kind of like you would have these big level set pieces that you could travel to and from, uh, you know, between the areas, but it really wasn't an open world in the same vein as most open world games. Whereas this is like, hey, you can pretty much go wherever you want from the beginning if you want. Although you're probably going to get absolutely wrecked if you try that. Let's be real. But yeah, it does some fun things with that. Like you can definitely tell that games like Breath of the Wild served as a big inspiration for this game because I super got the same evocative feelings that I got when I was playing Breath of the Wild playing this. Like there's not as much just kind of it's Souls game, so there's not as much hand holding of bombarding your map with a bunch of icons and that kind of open world style. It's kind of just hey, look at your map and see if you see something that seems like it could be something, go there and find and see if there's anything there that you could poke your head around and fight and explore and do all that sort of stuff. There is obviously set paths that you have to go to progress the story and everything to get you from area to area to unlock the entire map essentially. But for the most part, it's basically yeah, just go find stuff and fight stuff and explore and find items, go craft some stuff, do all this sort of stuff. So very much in the same vein as Breath of the Wild was, where it kind of had that same idea of just go out and explore and see what you can find. And I thought
You see
I
that mountain? You can go to it.
yes, exactly. I think it does it is a really nice change of pace from those other games in terms of making you kind of just in a way take things a little bit more slowly of just being I want to go explore over here, and then maybe I'll go explore over here after that, or do this. And it really helps, I think, early on, especially where you have quite a few different boss fights you can go to pretty much from the onset. And if you're having trouble with one of those bosses, you can basically just back out and be like, okay, I'm having a bit of trouble with this. Maybe I'm under leveled. Maybe I need to figure out a new strategy or something. I'm going to go explore in this completely opposite direction, and maybe I'll get some new levels and everything. Maybe I'll get a new weapon, maybe some better armor or something, and then I can come back and tackle this boss or do something else entirely, and then come back and do this. So, I think that really helps in that aspect with this game is just letting you have the freedom of choice, throughout. It does kind of get a little bit more honed in as you get towards the end game where you can't really do that. You kind of if you get stuck on a boss, you kind of have to bang your head against it or just go grind
Ugh.
once you're in the end game, but like that's kind of just to be expected because like you're probably not going to have a whole lot of other things to do at that point.
Right.
But yeah, I really liked the way they did the open world in this game. I thought it was, really beneficial to just like the overall gameplay and just letting you kind of get wrapped up in this world essentially. Although like I mean there are story stuff you can do with this game and everything like that'll tell you throughout the entirety of the game. Do I understand it even, or can I tell you the story of this game? No, not in the slightest.
My brother tried to explain it to me. Like he was trying to explain to me because I again I watched the baby play it, and so I sent it to my brother at one point because he was obsessed with the game, and he was watching her play and was also like amazed by it. Um but he was trying to explain to me like, "Oh, well this is what's going on in the story and this is what she's doing right now." I was like, "I yep, that's happening."
I fought some bosses. I talked to some fingers.
Some
Fought more
fingers?
bosses. Yeah, there's you go to this like kind of I guess base essentially is kind of what it is, and there's just two giant fingers you can go talk to,
Yubi,
and they'll be like,
yubi.
"Hey, what's up?" They won't actually say, "Hey, what's up," but they'll just stand there
I
menacingly.
wish they said, "Hey, what's up?"
I'd also wish they said, "Hey, what's up?" That'd be pretty good.
Can you imagine if you went to talk to two giant fingers and they're just like, "Hey, what's up?"
It'd be real
Or
fun.
or they're just like, "Sup,
So
sup." Do like a weird head nod type kind of thing
yeah, they give you the head nod over the fingers.
with the fingers, like the tip of the finger.
That would be very good.
I should make video games.
It's true. Uh, let's talk about development and release of this video game.
Okay.
From Software, obviously the developers of this game, had previously been known for developing the Dark Souls series, noted for their high level of difficulty. Director Hidetaka Miyazaki wanted to create an open world game, intending Elden Ring to as a mechanical evolution to Dark Souls. The game was designed to have a more expansive environment compared to the narrow dungeons of From Software's previous titles, with Miyazaki hoping that the grander scale would add freedom and depth to the exploration. From Software approached the American author George R.R. Martin, known for the Song of Ice and Fire series of fantasy novels, to provide world building for Elden Ring. I don't know
Forgot that he
where
was part of that.
exactly he did anything on this, but he apparently was here.
I mean, I guess he was doing something because he wasn't working on his novels.
He wasn't working on his novel and was probably getting mad at the television show.
Probably. He's just like, I don't know. I named 3 characters. That's it. I'm done.
A fan of Martin's work, Miyazaki hoped Martin's contributions would provide a more accessible narrative than the studio's previous games. Miyazaki remained lead writer for the main storyline in the game, but gave Martin the creative freedom to write about events that had taken place before the main narrative. The process was compared by Miyazaki as using a Dungeon Master's Handbook and a tabletop RPG. As with many of From Software's previous titles, the story was designed to not be clearly explained. The developers intended the players to interpret the story for themselves via flavor text and optional discussions with NPCs. Miyazaki said that he enjoyed writing NPCs with more detail, believing that they were more compelling than in his earlier works. In an interview with IGN, Miyazaki said that he chose to give Martin control over the pre-narrative because of the restrictions that From Software's method of storytelling placed on writers. He noted that From Software did not want a linear or story-focused narrative, and by giving Martin an oversight of a history that the player was not directly involved in, he would allow Martin to freely design his contributions. In addition to Martin, some staff from Game of Thrones, a television series adaptation of Song of Ice and Fire, also assisted with the game's development. Production of the game began in early 2017 following the release of The Ring City, a piece of DLC for Dark Souls 3. The game was developed alongside Sekiro, which Miyazaki also directed. He explained that although the combat in Elden Ring has similarities to Sekiro, neither game directly inspired the mechanics of the other. From Software was able to develop both games simultaneously using a co-director structure in which each of the developers' games had a staff member acting as a director through its first stages of development. Miyazaki would then later provide direction on the game's mechanics, art, and music. The design team of Elden Ring focused on environmental, scale, role-playing elements, and storytelling as the core elements of the game. Developers credited the scale of environments as responsible for creating a sense of diversity in the game and intended for the role-playing elements to allow for a variety of player interactions with the environment. Increasing the scale of the game required the creation of multitude of castles, caves, and dungeons that players can explore. From Software said that the stealth and summoning systems were implemented in order to add alternatives to direct engagement in combat. Miyazaki mentioned Shadow of the Colossus, The Elder Scrolls, The Witcher 3, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild as design influences for Elden Ring. He
There
also
you go.
yeah, exactly. He also credited RuneQuest, The Lord of the Rings, and Michael Moorcock's novel The Eternal Champion as inspirations for the game's story. As you do.
As you do.
Elden Ring was revealed during the Xbox Games Conference at E3 2019. Some information about the game had been previously leaked online due to a vulnerability of the servers at Bandai Namco. The game was widely anticipated on announcement, but no further material was announced until another trailer was shown in June 2021. Playtesting was facilitated by Bandai Namco Entertainment, which released the game initially as a closed beta in November 2021 that players could sign up to test. The game was delayed till February 25th, 2022, after its previous release date on January 21st, 2022. Elden Ring had performance issues at launch with complaints of a deficient frame rate being common, and that eventually got fixed with patches and updates. So, I guess for clarification as well, I played this, like a month ago, so I got a lot of like patches and stuff for that game and everything. For the most part, it ran really well. I played the PS5 version, which apparently is also like kind of not the best version to play, weirdly enough.
Really?
I think it's because like the frame rate stuff and all that. I had a few frame rate hitches, like very rare, but like you could kind of tell it was noticeable, but like it was nothing that like super affected the gameplay or anything like that. Everything else ran very smooth, looked real nice, all that sort of stuff. This game has been, like we said, highly rated, critically acclaimed. It currently has a 94 out of 100 on Metacritic for the PC version and a 96 out of 100 for the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions.
That's insane.
Yep. As of June 2022, how many units has this game sold, Al?
Oh God, I'm always really bad at these. I don't even know what's a good number. Like, it's definitely in the millions.
Yes.
I know, like 10 million?
Close.
Okay.
16.6 million by the end of June 2022.
I was not that far off.
And it is the fastest selling Bandai Namco game of all time.
Wow.
Apparently. So yeah, like I said, I think they do a lot of good things with the gameplay here. Like, for clarification, like, I don't really like the Dark Souls games. Like, I've tried playing one a couple of times, and I just cannot get into it. But I played Bloodborne, and I beat that, and I really liked it. I played about, like, half of Sekiro and enjoyed that for when I was playing it. So, like, I like it better when they do kind of more fast-paced action or, like, let the player do that. And they really allow you to kind of do whatever you want, like whatever kind of gameplay style you want to do in this game, because there's so many options in terms of like weapons available for you, what kind of play style you want to utilize essentially. So if you want to be just a big bulking slow rolling dude with a shield and a big sword, you can be that. You want to be a mage and have very little health but a bunch of magic points, I mean, you can totally do that. You want to dual wield a claw and lance, you could do that, I guess, if you wanted to. Yeah. So like it's really interesting in that way. Like I played just like single katana, no shield, and just did a bunch of rolling as my like evasion technique essentially, and that's how I played the game essentially. Like it felt very much like in the same vein as like Bloodborne was, where that game you have just like a gun to use as a parry, and you'd use a lot of like rolling around and dashing to get out of the way of like enemy attacks and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of like how I am familiar with playing these games essentially. So letting you kind of be able to do like a mixture of a lot of the different kind of play styles that they've introduced from Dark Souls to Bloodborne to Sekiro, I think is a very good idea, because it also just lets you have just more variety in terms of how you want to play this game, and just makes it in a way more accessible for more people to play, having all these different kinds of play styles just readily available to them whenever they want to like try it out essentially.
You were a katana version of Sonic rolling around at the speed of sound.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, my brother kept telling me, he's like, yeah, like basically to survive this game you just roll a lot.
Mm-hmm. Rolling. What?
Oh my
You
God.
just do the Fred Durst rolling dance.
Oh my God, no, not that terrible dance.
How dare you?
How dare me?
There's also a couple other things they've added to this game that is different from the other games that they've had. Like there's a jump button, for example,
Whoa!
which is actually very useful in this game because like you can do jump attacks and they do more damage, and like you can put on like a special item to like, oh, you know, your jump attacks do more damage essentially. Like you can have stuff like that. There's a horse you can ride around with and use that to fight around on like the open world and fight some of like the minor bosses that you'll run into in the open world essentially as well, which is very nice because it makes those fights a little bit more doable in a sense. What else? There's a lot of stealth in this game you can do as well, which is interesting.
Oh,
like
wow.
Sekiro also had a lot of stealth that you could do in that game. It's not exactly a 1-to-1 comparison between the two, but like, you know, you can kind of sneak around in bushes and then sneak up on enemies and like do a critical back attack to them, and usually that'll like kill them or like get them to very, very low health essentially. So that's pretty cool that you can do that to kind of avoid doing fights if you want to, or like having to do like big encounter fights, I guess you would say. There is a lot of, I guess, like variety in terms of like just the locations and everything. Like, I mean, you'll go into like different castles and like caves and all that sort of stuff, which kind of do eventually start feeling a little samey, but like, they do enough, I think, to kind of make it so it's not just like it looked like they just copy and pasted one thing and put it like later in the game and it's just a palette swap of it or something like that. Like every kind of location does have a uniqueness to it to make it feel a little bit different. I will say that there are a lot of bosses you fight in this game. The disappointing thing I think about that is though that they do reuse some bosses later in the game to where like, you know, you'll fight this boss and it'll be like this big arena and everything, and then you'll go into this like little cave area and then, oh, I'm fighting this boss again. But I guess I fought it now before, so it's not as like scary, but it's still just, it's the same boss again. Yay. Which I thought was kind of disappointing considering how many different bosses you encounter in that game. Like I felt like they didn't really need to do that, but you know, for one reason or another they do.
Maybe George R. Martin just ran out of people to name, and they're like, oh shoot, copy paste, we're good. It's all
There you
good.
go.
And he's like, I'm too busy. I got other things to do. And they're like, but we need like 5 more bosses. Oh God.
Deal with it.
One good theory.
One good thing about this game, no big bug bosses.
Oh,
thumbs
yeah,
up, thumbs
usually,
up. No big
positive.
spiders, thumbs up. I mean, there's
Usually
those big
positive.
ants, but like those are, which they're kind of creepy because they're hairy and stuff, and they're big. But hey, there weren't spiders, and I was able to kind of just like mow through them, be like, get out of the way, get out of here. The Adventures of Goober just rolled on. Good old
Literally.
Goober.
Literally rolled.
He was a good egg. Just
He
doing his
was
best.
a monster.
Just cutting people down, just being like, hey, what's up? It's me, Goober.
I like that you had all kinds of different like armor designs on him when you were sending me pictures.
There's so much armor in this game you can get too. Like it's just a smorgasbord of just drip you can have for your character. And I mean, like it all has like different stats accordingly. So like, you know, you can cater it to the playstyle you're doing and everything. But like, there's just a lot of stuff you could wear in this game. You make yourself look real weird or just real goofy in a whole variety of different ways, for sure. Which is fun.
I think my brother ended up looking like I was gonna say a dollar store Legolas, but that's not entirely true. Maybe like a store brand Legolas.
Mm-hmm.
Like a step above the dollar version.
The Dollar General version.
Yeah, kind of.
Not the Dollar Tree version.
Not the Dollar Tree version. It's definitely like the like great value version. Because he showed me a picture and I was like, yeah, that looks a lot like Legolas, but I didn't tell him that because my brother was very proud of how he looked, and
now he's gonna listen to this and be like, oh man.
My brother doesn't listen to my podcast.
Wow. How rude. He's gonna see you did an Elden Ring podcast and be like, I gotta listen to this.
And then he's gonna be like, wow, she didn't like my Legolas character. I'm sorry.
She did not like my Legolas drip.
To be fair, I like Legolas, so I'm not upset about that. I was like, all right, Legolas is a good looking dude. Like, you got a good looking guy there. You got some pretty like braids in your hair. But he definitely just looked like Legolas.
He's no goober.
He's Goober, I think, is one of a kind.
It's true.
We'll put it that
It's
way.
true. Goober's the kind of guy that's you're gonna fight a dragon. He's gonna get right up in that taint and slash it
Oh no.
on his horse. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh no. That's probably unpleasant
Oh
to
yeah.
experience.
Uh, I think one of the things that they did that really well in here is that like they give you these like summons that you can use throughout the game, especially for bosses,
I remember that.
to give you kind of an advantage, in fights and everything. To give you like something that like can draw aggro from bosses, so you can like do sneak attacks or just wail on the back of them or whatever, or just like help you out in a fight in various different ways. They also have ways where you can summon NPCs as well. But I think the caveat with that is that like if you do that, it raises the boss health and stuff like that. But like the other summons don't. I want to say that's the case. I could be wrong here, but like I think I remember seeing that and just being like, oh, I'm just gonna use my summon dudes and not get these NPCs in here because that's just like I don't want to make these fights harder than they need to be. Let's be
Yeah,
real.
nope. Why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah, exactly. I also this is the first one of these games I broke my rule of not summoning actual real players into the game to help me.
Oh,
I actually did that this game. Because I wanted to fight the super hard boss, which is I forget her name. She's the super hard boss though. Hang on, I can look this up.
I want her name to just be Super Hard Boss.
Yeah, the super hard boss, Millennia. She's like the one that like if you ask anyone about this game, they'll be like, yeah, that's the hard boss in this game. She's like an optional boss, but like it's very very difficult essentially. In terms of just like she has two phases and they're both just like they just mess you up if you're not ready for them. So like I just wanted to do it just to like say I did it because I wanted to feel cool about it. And tried doing it myself and just kept getting wrecked. So I was like screw it. I'm gonna summon people. They're gonna help me, and we're gonna do this. And like it still took me a couple of days to do it with people's help.
Mm-hmm.
Because like even like with like two other people with you, she would still wreck you. Because like one of her attacks is just like, or if she hits you, she gains health that she takes or she damages off of you.
Oh no!
So it makes it much harder than like most of the other bosses essentially.
So it's like a weird vampire move.
Yeah, basically. But eventually I was able to do it at like 8:00 in the morning.
Yay!
And I was very excited about it, and then I went to sleep.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But it was
You didn't tell me about that.
It was a very invigorating feeling at that early in the morning. And then I did the same thing on like the final boss as well, because like the final boss, you fight this one dude at first, and then you have to fight the Elden beast at the very end, and the Elden beast is very big and has a lot of attacks. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna get help for this and finish this game. Like I wasn't like burnt out or anything, but I was just like, I want to make this easier on myself, so that's how I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, why make your life more difficult when you don't have to?
So I did that for the first time in one of these games on both of those fights, and I didn't feel bad about it. I was like, yeah, whatever. It's a mechanic in the game. If they didn't want you to do it, they wouldn't put it in the game.
Exactly.
I know, like, there's a lot of people who will get very uppity about that and be like, oh, you're dismissing the integrity of the game by doing this and all that sort of stuff. It's like,
you
who
mean
cares?
a Souls fan?
I know.
Being terrible about things? What? That never
I know.
happens.
It is very funny though when you beat one of those bosses and you just like look at the people and you start just like spinning in circles or just like crouch spamming. All the people though, they're very nice. They'll come in, they'll like emote at you. I don't know how to do emote, so I'm just like jumping up and down or spinning around, and they're like, "Hello," and it's like,
I can imagine you doing that. Yes.
yeah.
That's really good.
I'm sorry I can't emote at you, but I will spin in circles to acknowledge that your existence and that I'm thankful for you helping me.
They're probably like, okay. Is this person all right? That's funny.
That's what I'm here for. There are multiple endings to this game, depending on like what you do. Because there's various different storylines or story quests you can go through, and those will get you to different endings that kind of just like slightly change the ending depending on what you do and everything. I made Goober get married and go with a cool witch, and then you're like, hey, let's just destroy everything and start new.
Oh my god.
I was like, sweet.
Good job, Goober.
Good job, Goober. Go have fun in your new world.
I mean, that's basically the plot of Xenoblade 1.
Goober's just like, all right, I'm in my big armor, and I look like a round ball, but I'm off. See you later.
Okay, this is no longer the plot of Xenoblade 1, but um
What if Shulk looked like a big round ball?
that armor was so ridiculous. You
It's
showed it to
so
me. I was just like,
funny.
what is this? What is this? It's insane.
It's very good. Yeah. The gameplay is great. I really enjoyed it. Like, I played this for a good long amount of hours. I don't remember exactly now because it's been quite a bit since I've played it. But like, I was still enjoying it all the way from like the beginning of it all the way up to the end. Even though, like, I did get into some frustrating bits, towards the end of the game, because that's just kind of how it's going to be and all that. Because the ending parts are going to be a little bit more difficult than the beginning parts, obviously. But like, it's weird because like these are known to be super rage games, but like I didn't really get into a whole bunch of like rage moments in this game. Playing through, like, I mean, I think you heard one of like the few rage moments I had, just because like I was going against this one boss fight that had like you had to fight two bosses at the same time, and it was just very difficult to like keep one on you and not get attacked by the other one at the same time.
Right.
So it was just, that was like difficult in a different way from a lot of the other fights in this game had been. So it was just kind of frustrating in that aspect. But like outside of that, it was just kind of like, you do the fight. If you die, it's like, all right, okay, let's figure out exactly what I'm doing here. What do I got to do differently? And just, go back at it again. But like if I'd probably played this game like 5 years ago or something like that, I'd probably be more like, I'm angry, man.
Yes, angry.
Yes, angry. Type deal.
Was it you or was it my brother who had the like the little minion guy kill the final boss? It
Probably wasn't me.
Must have been my brother, because I know that he was saying that like he had like a summon thing.
Yeah.
And that it got the last hit in, and so it didn't feel really satisfying.
Dude, anytime that happened for me, I'll just be like, all right, cool. Good job, my dude. High five.
We're a good team.
Exactly. You're just a team. You got to team up there, and you just got to do the thing.
It's true.
Beat them up. Yeah, this game's good. Like I said, if you asked me anything about the story, I couldn't tell you a single thing about it, but like I had a good time playing this game for like 60 hours or however long I played it. Just a fun time throughout. Like,
You played it for a while.
yeah. I mean, it's a long game.
Yeah.
For sure. Especially if you're doing a lot of like the side stuff and all that. Like, and they also have like, New Game Plus options as well if you want to do that, so you can like go back in and replay everything, but like have like kind of like your stats and items and everything, and be like, okay, I want to play it again, but now I'm going to try this skill set or this style or this weapon set and this armor set and all that sort of stuff, which is cool. And like it progresses each time you go into a different New Game Plus. So like your XP will get bigger, or the XP you get from enemies will get bigger, and like the enemies will be harder each time. So like it continuously scales for you essentially. So like it's not like you're just gonna go through and cruise through everything. It's just like here's a different kind of challenge essentially. For people who are into that, I'm just like, I played it, I had fun. I'm probably good. Maybe I'll check out some DLC whenever they decide to put some of that out. Who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe the world of Goober will come back at some point.
He'll continue.
He'll continue his journey.
His adventures.
Yes.
As a circle.
As a weird ball.
Yep.
Weird metal ball. Yeah. I had a lot of fun with this game.
I'm glad that you had fun.
It was a good fun time.
I would never play this game.
No, of course not. Like I would never expect you to. But it was fun, like I said, and like I think I was very surprised. Like I heard a lot of like the Breath of the Wild comparisons, when people were talking about it earlier in the year, and I was kind of surprised just how true those were, just how evocative of that game this game really was. So I thought that was real cool, and in a way, it gets me excited to play that Breath of the Wild sequel now as well. So it kind of gave me a good opportunity to be like to revisit those feelings in a way without replaying Breath of the Wild, essentially.
Man, I've been really thinking about how I wish I could play Breath of the Wild again for the first time without having known what was going to happen.
Yeah,
But obviously, I cannot do that. So
it's a little hard
a little hard. You can't go back in time
yet.
yet.
Can't go back 5.5 years ago.
Oh my God. Time is not real.
No, sure isn't.
Ugh.
But yeah, that's Elden Ring. Good game is good.
Goober is good.
Goober is also good. Correct.
I gotta support the dude.
All hail the goob.
All hail.
Yeah, that is Elden Ring. It's a fun game. It is, like I said, it's one of those games. So like if you're like Al and you're like, man, I don't like these games at all. This is not going to change your mind in the slightest. Like this isn't like Stranger of Paradise was, where like you get difficulty options and all that sort of stuff.
Until you don't with the DLC.
Yeah, but like it gives you more accessibility options in that aspect. But with this kind of gameplay style, like this doesn't have that. This is one of those games. But like, if you like those games, you're gonna really like this game. If you don't like these games, you're not gonna like this game. That's just the way it kind of is. But it is a very good one of those games for sure.
I'm glad that it was good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it was a great experience for the people who like those games.
Yep.
Lived up to some of the hype for people.
Yeah, no kidding. Because a lot of people had hyped this game up for
Ever?
not even forever, but just like to astronomical heights. That was like, man, can this live up to it? And for a lot of people, it seems like it has, which is real cool that a game's able to do that.
I'm glad. I mean, I was seeing stuff like as soon as it came out, like, oh, this is already game of the year. I'm like, whoa, that's high praise.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people really enjoyed it, so I'm glad they got what they wanted out of it.
Yeah, totally. But that's gonna do it for this week. So if you'd like more from us, head on over to seasonalanimecheckup.com or sac.cool. It's where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Jared and Now Watch. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you would like more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at Anime Checkup. You can buy our books, One Shining Moment, a critical analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, and Hot Tubs and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buy us a slice of pizza, get access to unedited versions of the podcast early, and a whole wealth of bonus content as well. Next week, we kind of have like an idea of where we're going for like the next couple of weeks of stuff. We have like a few weeks in December where we're like a little iffy on.
Yep.
And then we have the rest of the year will be our pretty typical usual stuff we do at the end of the year. But next week, we're going to take a trip back to like, 5 years ago.
Oh, God.
And talk about a game that we had not played until just recently. It's time to return to the world of Resident Evil.
They don't say it when you start it up, do they?
No.
Ugh.
Because things are about to get a little bit biohazard in here.
Nice.